Welcome to the Garden of Edun. Dami be asking the questions for the answers that you want to hear. All you gotta do is sit back, grab a chair, or listen up while you clean and cook. Take a leaf from the creative's book. These gems open your mind and your heart. Okay, the show's gonna start. Cheese! Welcome back, everyone, to the Garden of Edun. I'm your host, Dami, and today we're welcoming a very interesting guest, actually, on the podcast. Please give a warm welcome to Dustin Lee. So Dustin is a senior platform strategy producer for VaynerMedia, who, if you didn't know, is owned by the infamous GaryVee. And Dustin's also a member of Team GaryVee. And doing my backgrounds on your team, actually, I've seen that the GaryVee channel has like over 3 million subs now and almost 300 million views. And I'm sure that's a big part of that is based on the team. So just a shout out to you guys. And the other thing Dustin's pretty well known for is being, in my eyes, the co-host of a very popular show on that channel, Tea with GaryVee. Some other things about Dustin too. He's a Muay Thai fighter, so don't fuck with him because he'll whack your head top off clean from the videos that I've been seeing anyway. And you're also an avid BMX biker too, from what I can tell. And that's really interesting to me because I've got a few friends that are skateboarders and skating, so I guess on wheels too. So I think they'll find some of your stuff interesting. But yeah, thanks for jumping on the podcast.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And yeah, skateboarding and BMX are pretty much similar. It's just different devices, I guess you could say.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got a few questions on that, so we'll definitely get into that. But yeah, like I was mentioning before, I first came across you through obviously the Tea with GaryVee show back in the pandemic. And for those who don't know, when the pandemic kicked off, I believe Gary started this show to speak to like people within his audience and then also some like influential figures across social and other areas. And you were a big part of the show, I can't lie. Like, it would be really weird watching it if you weren't on it, I have to say.
Thanks.
And I, on a personal level, have to say, like, thank you to you and the team, because in that moment of time, I was in a really shit living situation, like a really bad one, where I was living in a flat with a landlord that I had zero relationship with, and the pandemic basically trapped us together. So your show was like a really important part of my like daily routine and kind of gave me a bit of hope. So yeah, just like an actual thank you to you and the team for putting that together, because yeah, it would have been even worse without tuning into you guys.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, and it's got me doing loads of different content that I never expected to do either. But again, we'll get into that. Cool. So to prove that I'm actually a big fan of the show, because I know some people might say, yeah, I watched that show. I do remember an episode where you were talking about when you first heard about GaryVee on your way to work, and I'm guessing that was when you were doing the app development job, right? Is it around that time?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just really want to start like around that time for you. So when you first heard of GaryVee and his content about like making content on social, was that what inspired you to go into that lane, or was there something else that took you into becoming like a content creator, producer, and that kind of thing?
So when I first heard Gary, it was on the radio, in our local radio station here. And yeah, I think the first thing that really like drew my attention to him, it was just something as simple as like the host at the time said he was from Edison, New Jersey, which is like pretty close town to me. So that it's just funny how like that was the thing that kind of like immediately like drew my attention, just because he's kind of like, I guess, a local. So that's why I think that when he does content like that, where he says like, "Oh, hey, Texas" or something, I think that stuff really does matter because it does kind of like feel a little bit more relatable.
Mm,
But yeah, like that was the first thing that really like caught my attention. And then if I recall correctly, I think he was just talking about just following your passion and just doing having a job that like going for a job that you don't hate. And at the time, um I just wasn't really happy where I was working. Just the environment, just like I have no computer programming experience, so it was just like, what am I doing here? Like this is definitely not not the right fit for me.
yeah.
Um, and then like I think maybe a few months later, it was like the first time I came across Jim Carrey's commencement speech for I forgot what school that was for, but it was just another sign for me to be like, yeah, I think I should just quit my job because this is definitely not something I want to be doing. Um,
Mm,
but prior to that, like I didn't go to school for any of this. I didn't have any real desire to do anything in this world. It wasn't really about like content making for me. It was just more about, I guess, just I don't know, I just didn't really think about it like that. I just thought like, oh, like I think my friends were doing like YouTube at the time. They still are, but
right.
I just thought, oh, I guess anyone could do this. Like I really was super naive, to be honest, like where I just didn't know how difficult YouTube was. I was like, oh, anyone can do this. Like this is easy. And I
Yeah.
quickly realized how hard it was. Um, so it was a little I don't know what the right word is, but it was just not a bad idea, but it was just like I should have been a little bit more smart about it.
What were the things that you discovered when you like what were the things that you thought were easy and you were like, fuck, this is actually a lot.
I just assumed that like because you make a video, people will watch it. Like, oh yeah,
Mm,
automatic like this is gonna go viral automatically. Like, but um I just didn't realize how difficult that was at the time. I was just a little naive, like I said. And but then yeah, and then just being creative was really difficult too. Like I had all these ideas and I did them all, and then I'm like, crap, now what? Um, and then that's kind of where I had to get
mm,
creative again, but like not in the way that I was really satisfied with. So it was just a lot of ups and downs. Trying to like pretty much trying to become a YouTuber.
right.
Um, and yeah, like I said, I was just completely had no idea what I was doing, and just it was a lot of anxiety, I guess, where I was just like not sure like if what I was doing, where this was going, and it was just very much like that unknown feeling. Um,
Mm,
but I mean, I'm glad I like got through it, but yeah, it was
yeah.
definitely difficult.
Yeah.
I,
Hey there, Garden of Edun podcast listeners. Sorry to interrupt this episode. I just wanted to say thank you for watching and listening. If you get value from this podcast, from the guests sharing their perspectives on their journeys, I would appreciate if you could share this with maybe one or two people that you know will get something out of it. If you like the podcast, please subscribe or follow it on whichever audio platform you're listening to it on. We've got more exciting content coming up with athletes, musicians, comedians, journalists, sharing their journeys towards mastery. And now back to the show.
I forget what your initial question was though.
it was mainly like what took you into like content creation, but I guess it's from the sounds
Yeah,
of it, it sounds like something you kind of stumbled into more than decided, right, I'm here in this position at work and I'm gonna
yeah.
leave for this.
Um, so then I guess to answer that, like better way to answer that question was like I thought like I saw all these signs where like, oh, maybe I should try this YouTube thing. And then like as I it was in the middle of trying to do it, like I realized when I was like 12 or 13 years old, I used to try to edit videos like doing BMX stuff. And
Oh, okay.
but it was like done really, really poorly, I guess. Like I just used two like VCRs to pretty much edit, and it was just really like a poor man's version of editing. And I used to just love doing that stuff when I was a kid. And then once I like learned how to do Premiere, that's what I edit with. And I just like, it was like my moment of self-awareness where like I was like, wow, I really like, this is like what I like doing. Like I like sitting here editing, and it was just like an eye-opening moment in my life where I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, because I'm not mad. This is taking 8 hours, and I like didn't even take a break, and it didn't feel like 8 hours. It just felt like I was just having fun, like creating my own thing, whatever I was creating. And that was like the moment where it really felt like this is what I want to be doing.
That's so crazy. I really relate to that story, you know, because I think sometimes if you dig back into your childhood, there's things that you really love just doing, like for the sake of doing it rather than what could come from it.
Right.
And obviously with you know, parents and school and other people, you get pulled into different directions, and obviously at that age you're not really self-aware or like even aware of what's happening around you so much. You just get pulled in, and like for me, one of the things I discovered a few years ago, I was cleaning up my old childhood room, and I found these like books full of writing, like all these stories and like
that you wrote,
that I wrote as a kid, and I'd completely forgotten about it, like completely. But then I was reading it like, oh, I really liked just writing out like random stories. And in me rediscovering that, I started, and I'm in the process of like finishing a fiction book at the moment. But I only really realized that it was even a thing for me when I read all my old stuff. And then I started writing, and like you, even though it was taking ages to put something together, like the process of it, like almost like carving something out of stone, there was some real fulfillment that I, on a personal level, got from it. So I definitely relate to your own experience with video editing. Definitely.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I know I look young, but I'm 36, and so like that was happened in like the 90s where like there was no internet then. It was like, that's kind of why like I remember editing when I was a kid and just having fun with it, but like I never thought it could be a career, because like how is this supposed to be a job? Like no one's gonna pay me to edit these stupid little videos. It was kind of like a dream that I thought was impossible. But then with the internet now, like in this decade, it's just everything has changed. Like that whole you can't do it is like completely out the door. Like it's a completely different ball game now.
It's connected us to like near infinite possibilities, isn't it? Yeah. Also, by the way, the fact that you're 36 is mind-boggling, because you look like bro, if I saw you just on road or something, I'd be like, yeah, he's 22, 23. So whatever you're doing, like keep doing it, because it's working a lot.
I know. I'm like convinced I'm gonna look the same until I'm like 65, and just one day I wake up and just look like an old man.
It's just like bang. Oh man. So going on to the next thing I'm a bit curious about, especially because of how competitive the creative industry is, and especially getting opportunities at VaynerMedia as well, because I know, because I've applied a few times for jobs in the London office, and like I haven't got a sniff. So when did you decide to go for being part of the organization and then also Team GaryVee? Like, did you apply for VaynerMedia first and then get put on Team GaryVee? Like, what was the process for you?
So it was like around September 2017. I really didn't know much about Gary's world, like his business world. Like I thought he really was just like a motivational speaker / YouTuber. So I didn't really know anything about him. But then I was watching Daily V, And then this one episode they put out was called like Looking for Content Creators or something like that. I watched it. There was an application, and I just applied like some regular person. Got denied.
Shit, man.
Maybe around, I forget exactly what happened within that 4 months, but I don't know if they put out another video or something where they like asked people to apply, or if I just it just happened that they like decide to like give me another try or something. But then in February of 2018, I got like an email from Andy saying, hey, would you like to come in and like have an interview and talk or whatever? So I went in, talked to him, had like a small little interview. He gave me like a homework assignment, and I went home, did it, sent it in the next day, emailed it, and never heard from him again. I was like,
okay.
I was like, damn, I guess I fucked that up. So then like I tried emailing him maybe like another week later, still nothing. And I was like, damn, I guess I kind of gave up. I was like, fuck, I guess I suck. So then just whatever, I just decided to like keep going on with my life. Then maybe another 4 months later, like in June, Andy called me out of the blue, and he's like, hey, are you still interested in working for Team Gary? Oh yeah, so this was for specifically Team Gary. And like I said, I still had no idea what like Gary's world was really like. Like I heard of VaynerMedia, but I didn't really know what it was. Anyway, so then Andy calls me, he's like, hey, you still interested in the job? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, can you start tomorrow? I'm like, okay. So yeah, like just the next day, or maybe it was like 2 days after, I forget, but yeah, just went in there. They gave me like a little trial period to like see what I'm capable of, or if I'm good enough. I just pretty much dropped everything at the time and just like went all in on trying to, because I really wanted to work there. Like this was pretty much my dream to like work for Gary.
Yeah. Had you met Gary in the process up to this first day, or you had
never? I just Instagram and YouTube. That's all I knew about, and Facebook, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I went in, applied, or I went in, worked for like a month, pretty much like almost like as a freelancer. Then maybe like a few months after that, they gave me a resident position, which was like pretty much like we're paying you, but not like as a full employee yet, because it's kind of like these little steps that they up the ladder that they kind of do.
Right.
And then eventually just became a full-time employee, and been there for a little bit over 3 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were one of the OGs of the Team GaryVee, would you say? As in like the actual setup?
Up till, not really. I wouldn't say I'm an OG. Like there was people way before me. A lot of them have moved on. Like when I joined, Babin was like, it was like his last year there.
Right.
Iris just left. D-Rock's still there.
Shout out D-Rock.
Yeah. But yeah, like there was like right now, I don't think there's like only maybe 1 or 2 people that are like the real OGs, like that have been there maybe like 5 or 7 years or something like that on Team Gary, like the real beginner, like when the beginning of when Team Gary actually even was formatted, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I guess now I'm considered OG, but I'm not. I still don't think I am. Like I still think I'm like just some guy.
Aren't we all just some guy, man? or gal.
Yeah.
Or
True.
Person for the non-binary people out there. Come on, man. That's really interesting, man. I mean, just the fact that you got the call out of the blue after not getting any response for that long. But yeah,
I got really lucky.
Why? Do you know why they like? Did you ever ask like, why did you reach out to me again? Because I was assuming that you were gonna say I followed them up like 20,000 times and they eventually got back to me.
Yeah, like I think I got super lucky. Like it was just because I wasn't really persistent. I should have been, but obviously I don't regret anything because everything worked out. But I'm not sure. Like I never really asked Andy like why he decided to like give me another shot. Because I kind of was just like, whatever, I'm just glad to be here. But I'd say like to bring anyone listening some value is I think my advantage was, so like I built something. I had this I still do. I have this Seinfeld based meme account on Instagram.
Okay.
At the time when I applied, I think I had around like maybe like 250,000 followers or something like that. So I built this thing from scratch, and that was kind of like on my resume, as you could whatever. But I think Andy saw that and just thought like, okay, this guy built something from zero by himself, and so he kind of understands like what works and what doesn't work on Instagram. So I'd say for anyone else out there that like kind of wants to go in the same path, try to build something for yourself, whether it's like a YouTube channel, a TikTok account, Instagram account, whatever, like anything. It could even be like I don't know, a crazy LinkedIn account for all I know, like if you're just really good at writing. But just build something that you can use as your portfolio, like more than just like a standard portfolio where it just shows people like what you worked on, because that doesn't really help in my opinion, because anyone can just create stuff. But if you have something that you created and it led to something like just a good following, I think that shows more that you know what to do, and like you know how to like build something, and you can pretty much do the same thing for someone else. Like I think that's where my value came in to play. So like I think they saw that I understood Instagram specifically. And I just remember one thing that I think I said during my interview was just like, I realized during my during my time of like making my account, I used to try to like make things that I thought was funny or like I thought related to me, and I realized like those posts weren't doing very well. And then I realized like what other people can relate to. Like it's not just all about me. It's like what other people can relate to. Can other people relate to this content? And that's always the stuff that really performed better. So I think that's just kind of like my own version of like giving value to someone else that they can, relate to. Like that was like the big thing that I said, like, is it relatable? And I think that's what Andy saw that I saw was like kind of like the light bulb that was like, oh, okay, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about.
He gets it.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, if anyone is trying to do something like that, I'd say try to build something on your own. I know that's very much harder than it sounds. But yeah, like I think that was my leverage really.
Yeah. I'm in big agreement with that principle as well. Obviously I was mentioning that in like the book writing process now, and one of the things that I've realized myself through watching obviously Gary's content and just on a general level as well, like the competitive nature of the creative space is so vast that you need some things to stand out. And for me, the way I'm looking at the book space is, okay, a lot of people might want to go traditional, like with a traditional publisher. In my head though, I feel like if I can do a good job self-publishing and like build just something that shows some tangibility, then it makes it easier to have the conversation later down the road. If you write something else to go, yo, big traditional publishers, I did this already on my own. So if I come under your umbrella, then we can do something together. So I think it speaks to the same principle you're talking about. Oh yeah, that's cool though, man. Like, I guess lucky that had happened. Like, it's a perfect marriage of circumstance, I guess.
Yeah, for real.
So I asked this question in a previous podcast to someone who Have you seen the show called Love Island or heard about it?
No, I haven't.
So it's this massive reality TV show in the UK, and I think I think there might be an Australian and US version, but I'm not sure if they're as popular. Basically, like it's a island that people go on for, I think, 8 weeks, and they try and find love and all that kind of stuff. And basically, after 8 weeks, whoever's been on the show and prominent character, like their audience, their followers go from like 10K to like 2 mil because the show is super popular here, and they get all these brand deals and blah 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 blah. Anyway, the person who was on a few episodes ago is a lawyer for people that were on this show. Like, he essentially carved out a piece of business for his company where he basically does all or a lot of the litigation for people who are on the show. And I asked him about the difference to aspiring to be the personal brand itself versus the professionals around that personal brand. And you were speaking earlier about how the internet has opened up these opportunities. For example, like being a videographer now can be a viable career that it wasn't in the 90s. How would you advise people who have decided, okay, I'm not going to be a personal brand, but I want to work in and around that structure? How would you advise them to approach it now that you're on the inside of that and you see what comes in and who tries to get in, and then also maybe other like people like, I don't know, Lewis Howes or other people of that similar stature and want to work for those teams? How would you advise them?
I would say that's really comes to like self-awareness, in my opinion. Like I said before, like I wanted to be like the next Casey Neistat or something. Like I wanted to be the YouTuber, but then I realized like that part of it, like I just wasn't having that much fun doing that part, like filming myself, just watching myself. And I was like, oh, like I didn't like that part of it, where I liked the editing part of it. So I think that's where you really need to like ask yourself if this is really what you want to do, because it's like, I'm not trying to, also at the same time though, like I'm not saying like don't even try it, because it's like that's what happened for me. Like I tried it and it led to this other thing that led to this other thing. So it's like, don't stop yourself from trying it. It's just in the middle of you trying it, you kind of have to take a pause and be like, hey, am I enjoying doing this or not? And if you are, then just keep going. But if you're not, just try to change something up a little bit, or just change something, because either you're gonna not enjoy your process anymore, or you're gonna either double down and love your process even more. But as far as like, I guess the competition of like other creators, I think there's still plenty of room for, like, even though it seems like a very oversaturated field, I don't think it is. Like I just see so like YouTube and TikTok are a good example, because people are sending me like TikToks all the time, and I'm like, I have no idea who this is, and they're huge, and I'm like, I've never seen this person before. And same thing with YouTube. Like my wife watches people on YouTube, and like they have like millions of subscribers. I'm like, I've never heard of this person before. So it's like there, and then I'm in the content world, so it's like I should be knowing who these people are. So it's like I think there's still plenty of room for like people to have their own thing, where like they want to start something, or they want to become a YouTuber, or they want to become that TikTok person or something. And I say those two specifically because I think that's kind of where it's more possible. Like I think Instagram's a little bit tougher now to become like, I mean, maybe you could probably still become an Instagram model if you wanted to, just because I think that's just how it works on there.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's like I said, you have to really ask yourself, is this really what you want to do? Like even that last example, if you want to become an Instagram model, do you really want people just to like know you for being a model and that's it? Like if you're okay with that, then I think, yeah, go for it. But you just have to like, it just seems like a lot of people that do that are also always like in that like oh, but I want them to know me for this instead. And it's like now, and it feels like it's too late almost for them. And I don't think it is. It's just like that's where like a lot of that self-awareness has to like really come into play, where you have to really ask yourself, like, is this what you want to do? And if it is, just go all in on it. If it isn't, then there's other ways to still be involved, but not be directly exactly that thing that you want to do. So yeah, I think you just got to take a step back and ask yourself, is this really what you want to do?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that why is important, because either route you take is going to be very difficult. Like it's going to be, you're going to face some challenges, and you know, yin yang, there's always a dark with the light of any of those routes. Like me and my friends always talk, and like one of my boys is he's like trying to become a big like full-time musician, and we always talk about, okay, while it would be sick to be well known and famous, like the dark side of that of not being able to go and do things. Like he's got a friend who's a well-known musician in the UK and London, and he went out with him to one carnival that we have every summer, and he said literally they couldn't enjoy the carnival because everyone, like every 2 minutes, is coming up to this guy, can I get a picture, can I get this? And so there is those are things to think about,
that
for
sure.
You wouldn't necessarily, because you're just aiming for the good parts of whatever you're aiming for. So I think yeah, like you said, if you're aware of what's there on both sides and are good with that, then you know you should follow it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you know, I was saying earlier that you're one of the like stars / co-hosts of the Tea with GaryVee show, and that's really like the main reason that I, you know, became aware of you and started following you and watching the stuff you put out. Did you kind of get roped into being a character a little bit?
No. I mean, I'm not sure, like, and I'm not gonna be offended or anything, but I just don't know what you mean when you exactly say character.
Like as in somebody who was gonna regularly be on the show, because it was kind of like it, like, yeah, like obviously Gary's like the main person on the show, but then you also like seamlessly became one as well.
Yeah,
and so it was
I get what you're saying now. No, because well, so it's like two things. Like I wasn't trying to like be a character on the show or anything like that, like, or be part of the show, I mean.
Yeah.
But Gary, I think Gary likes it when it's not just him. Like he likes including people, like his either a guest or people he works with. Like he likes to include people. If you ever notice, like watching like Daily V's, he's always referring to D-Rock or referring to Andy or referring to like Marcus, like people like that are in the room. He likes to like kind of have them involved, part of like what he's doing. I think it's just because he loves people, but I think it also just maybe he just likes having like other people involved in the part of the process, part of the content. And I mean, at the time, like I just like pre-pandemic, I was filming and live streaming all the Ask Gary V's that he was doing with like guests.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I got involved in part of like the Tea with Gary Vee, because it was kind of like my world of like figuring out how to like film and stream and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I think that's really how I became part of the show in a sense, because like I was the one controlling it, and also Gary just likes having me involved, or having like whoever he's working with at the time involved. Like you can definitely see that in like old Daily V's, where like he's always talking to D-Rock or Iris or Jason, Caleb, like all of them. Like he just likes to have the whoever he's talking to. Like I think it's probably also just because he'd rather talk to a person than to like a camera lens. Like it probably still feels a little bit weird to like talk to yourself in a way. So I think he likes to have just that someone to talk to versus like like nobody in a way. Like, I mean, obviously there's someone on the other side of the lens, but like when you're sitting here and talking to a camera lens, it feels a little weird, I'm sure.
I've noticed him talk about that, like with the keynotes he's done through Zoom and stuff, like that interaction and being able to bounce off people.
That's also where he's best, where he like when he works off someone, that's where he's the best at. So I think that's why he also really likes to work with someone.
I feel like, especially with the digital era of like how we're doing this podcast right now, or this like medium, it's important because if you're speaking to, I know at some companies, like when there's meetings, like everyone's got their cameras off, everyone's on mute, and you're just like, when you're speaking in that situation, it's just like, rah, who am I actually speaking to?
Right.
There's nothing. You're not getting anything.
Exactly.
So that's understandable. And then obviously that's kind of led to you being on the show regularly. And as I don't know, because obviously being part of the show, you kind of open yourself up to being seen by loads of people, and like people, I guess, feeling like they know you more, and or that kind of thing. I'm trying to find the best words to describe that feeling, but they've seen you on the show, so they think, oh yeah, my guy Dustin, and this is who he is, and etc. What kind of things have come to you from being on the show regularly? Like opportunities, consequences? Were you primed before to say, listen, if you're on the show regularly, then certain things might happen from the people that are watching? Like what has happened as a result?
I mean, just I guess like new relationships, just like this, like just people reaching out and wanting to do podcasts and stuff like that, which is cool. Nothing super crazy, like just I guess a few more followers obviously, but just people, just good people, like a lot of good people just reaching out to just say hey or whatever, or just supporting me like for whatever I do. Like even though I don't really post too much about anything other than like BMX or like Muay Thai or something, but people are like, they're like fascinated by it still, so that's pretty cool. But other than that, not really. Just good people, like true like super fans of Gary, like just are want to be like, I guess, friends with me, which is cool. But yeah, nothing like, I haven't gotten like a TV show or anything, like nothing crazy.
Not even a brand deal, no brands
nothing.
are coming going, yo Dustin, we seen you on the show, here's a free BMX.
That's nothing BMX related, but people that I guess are their own entrepreneurs, like say, hey, we'd love to send you some shirts or something, like stuff like that, like people haven't. Like, oh, I'd love to send you one of my books. Or recently someone sent me a bunch of like cleaning supply tablet things, which are kind of cool. Like it's like these little pills that become like a glass cleaner that you just add water to. But this guy Sammy, like he just reached out. He's like, hey, I'd love to send you that stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. So yeah, just stuff like that, like little things like that, which is cool.
Yeah, nice little perks alongside the job. Nice. So I want to go into a bit of your expertise, actually, since you've been working at Vayner for just over 3 years, you said, right? And obviously being around that team and what you guys have achieved, like especially some of the numbers I was mentioning earlier, and even less away from the numbers, just I feel like the less like tangible in terms of the relationships and just how invested a lot of people are into what your team is creating with Gary. Like it's mad. It's actually mad. Like it's mad. Like even me, like, because I hear super fan, I'm like, well, I wouldn't say I'm a super fan, but I watch a lot of your shit. So essentially I am. And obviously you do a really good job at making a lot of people feel that way. So what fundamentals have you learned with Team GaryVee, and I guess within VaynerMedia as well, working with clients? What fundamentals have you learned and taken on board in the aspect of creating content to a point where you can reach a level of making a living from it? And then the second part to that question is, how would you advise someone who is alone or a one-man show or one-woman show content creator with not really a lot of budget to manage their social media, so they can get to a point where they're having like steady growth without burning out on so many platforms? Because, you know, as you know, as a one person, managing like 5 social platforms is near impossible. So I know that's a two-pronged question, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
For your fundamentals question, I would say, like I said earlier, was just like, is this like, try to make content that's relatable, but I would say for me, like what kind of worked was like, I would watch people on their phones, and if they're like scrolling on Instagram, I'd watch how they're scrolling. And I noticed like someone I saw on the train once was scrolling like this, like just super fast. I'm like, how they didn't even like see anything, like like what did did they even like see what just passed? And then so it just like made me think like, wow, you really have like maybe half a second to like really grab someone's attention. So then I try to adjust my like the content that I made for Gary to really, I guess, try to catch their attention right away, which is tough, really, really tough. But like we would change like titles to make it a little bit more just pop like in your face, whether like it was either through like colors or big text or not saying that that's like the exact formula for everything. Like sometimes I've done just a regular like tweet looking stuff and it still helps, like still people grabs people's attention, but I think words do matter in my opinion. And it really does depend on what platform you're on. Like on an Instagram or TikTok type of world, like I said, you have like a half second to like really want someone to be like, watch the rest of this video. Whereas in like a YouTube world, I think a thumbnail is way more important because you want someone to commit to click that video. Once they click that, then you have a little bit more time to like make them to want to watch the entire video. But that first maybe 20 seconds is going to be super important, because like if you're blabbling on about some shit that I didn't want to, like I clicked this video because it says like, oh, new iPhone 13 cinematic feature sucks or something. And then I click the video because I'm like, oh, why does it suck? I click the video and you start talking about Pokemon or something. And I'm like, the fuck? This is not why I've clicked this video. So then I'm like, and I immediately go, fuck this. I close it and then that's it. So like that person blew their shot. But if you immediately go into like, okay, here's the iPhone 13, this is why it sucks or something like that. It's like, okay, now I want to watch. I think people are kind of making their YouTube content backwards. Like they're trying to like make all this fluffy shit in the beginning and then get to the point at the end. That way they can have someone watch the entire video. But I don't agree with that, because like I think nowadays people's times is like, their time is like way more, they feel like their time is way more valuable than it even used to be before. So like I say try to give the value right away, and they might stick around to watch the rest of the video if it's still interesting. Like if you just start talking about like random bullshit like towards the middle and end, then yeah, they're probably not going to watch the entire video. But if you talk about something valuable in the beginning and then just continue to like stay on subject throughout, where like they still want to like take it all in, then you have a good shot of making a good video. So like I said, long story short, like it really depends on the platform you're aiming towards. I think you have to think about everything differently. Where like I said, TikTok, it's immediate. YouTube, you have a little bit of a shot. I think that's where like you really have to like not do too much clickbait type of stuff. I mean, obviously clickbait does work, but like I think that's really, if you just do like real super clickbaity shit, like it's like more just like short term trying to get people's clicks, but it's not going to be like a long term where like I'm like, oh man, I really like this guy, I want to keep watching his stuff. And then like in a LinkedIn, I don't know LinkedIn very well, so I can't really like comment on that because like I barely ever go on there. But I would say like if you're really good at writing, I think LinkedIn is a good source also. So yeah, you just got to think about things differently. Like I said, maybe you just start watching people how they like are on their phones, like because that's kind of like how I figured it out. So I was like really watching people, even though that sounds a little creepy, but I was just like curious to see like what people's behaviors are like on these platforms. And that's kind of what helped for me as far as like understanding how to approach certain things like that. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. The thing about the person just going like that, I'm just like, oh yeah, you have to do something that's gonna make them go.
And like I even do that too personally. Like sometimes where I'm like, if I follow some accounts that I'm not like super interested in, but I still follow them just because once in a while like something might grab my attention. Like I followed UFC, but I don't like watching all of their posts because they post way too much. And like some fighters I'm just not interested in watching, so I skip over it. But like let's say I saw something that said like Khabib is back or something, like really quick, even for a second, that's going to grab my attention to be like, what is this? And I want to watch it. And obviously if it's true, but just something, but that half second, I'll like process that real quick, that 1/2 second where I see that title and I'm like, oh shit, what is this? But if I just see like two guys, I could like in that half second, I could watch two guys or two girls that I've never even heard of and not be interested. I'll just pass right through it. So yeah, like I said, well, my whole point was like I'm guilty of that too, but certain things do grab my attention. Like sometimes even like, but obviously this is it all depends. Every person's different, and like for me personally, like I like BMX. Like I'm more interested in BMX stuff or biking stuff. So like I might give that type of content a little bit more leeway where I'm like, okay, like even I've watched people where like the beginning is super slow. I'm like, what the fuck? But I still watch it because I want to know what the trick they're about to do is. So it really depends on your audience too. So these are not all set rules, whatever I just said before. It's just to give you an idea of like how people are consuming content. And like I said, everyone's like, someone might be really into cooking and like they might want to watch everything of that cooking content. But like me, if I see cooking stuff, I'm like, unless it's something like super cool or interesting or something that I like to make myself, I'm probably not going to watch it.
So, scrolling past.
I think that's where it's like so many different things you have to consider, really. So but obviously, like I guess the only thing that doesn't work is just like BS, like just crap content, or it's just like someone's just talking and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like and you're like, even though I'm right now even hesitating saying my words, but I think that does matter, where I'm like, if you start your video off with like so today, let's see, like if you start saying like that, you're already like, you're done. Like no one's gonna want to really do that unless they really like you, which is still possible. It's just you're giving yourself way less of a chance to like have something do well.
Okay. No, that's some really good game you just spat, man.
Thanks.
I'm like because my housemate, I live with one of my friends, and he actually actively spends very little time on his phone. He's more on the computer gaming and on that kind of vibe. But I my girlfriend and at her house, like they're all on their phones quite a lot. So now I'm gonna just like peek over and just
definitely
see how are they moving on Insta, or when they're on TikTok, what's going on? Like,
and if you see them stop
seeing,
if you see them stop at something, try to figure out why they decide to stop on that.
Yeah, because then you can, if you understand that behavior, then you can do it in your content, and that can scale up the impact that it can have, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's really good game, man. I guess related to like the second part of that question as well, with like somebody who's a one-man show, for example, me running this podcast, or other people who have other pursuits that are doing it by themselves initially, what caveats would you add to them, mainly really to avoid like social media burnout in terms of managing loads of platforms, and not having a budget? What kind of things would you recommend to those people?
I mean, it's really tough. I understand that. I would say just do the best you can, like, and just don't overjudge yourself. Like, just do the best you can, because like it's gonna be so, I don't want, like, you're not gonna want to burn out, because then you're just gonna quit and be like, you know what, just fuck all this. Like, and I get that too, because like I've been there also. But I would say just do the best you can. And if you can afford to, maybe you can hire someone to help you. But I know that's kind of a luxury and maybe not possible. So, like, I think a good way is to, like, just like you said, do a podcast. And then, like, what we do for Gary is, like, he would film a podcast and then we chop it all up. Like putting maybe motivational or funny stuff on Instagram, but like very business stuff on LinkedIn. Or same thing with Instagram, with TikTok. So like I would say try to do, maybe you could do a podcast. Like I've been thinking about doing that one myself, but I just have too much to do with Gary that I don't really, like, the last thing I want to do is start a podcast. But I'd say, well, like for my Instagram account, my Seinfeld one, like I just went all in on Instagram, because even though I don't recommend it, because you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, but for me at least, like Instagram at that time was like the big one where it was just easier, and because so many people were on it. I would say the same thing. Like if you're starting from zero, I would say go to like you should start on TikTok, like focus on TikTok, build an audience, and then that audience will like trickle onto other things. Like I've seen people that did super well on TikTok, probably had no following on Instagram, but people like them so much they decide to follow them on Instagram, and then they still like them so much that they want to watch longer things. They follow them on YouTube now. So I would say try to focus on one thing for a little bit. And that one thing, it should be something that you enjoy. Like if you don't like making TikToks, then I understand it's gonna be a little bit harder to do that, but I still think that is the best place to do it right now. But if you're like more of a writer, then I guess try doing it on LinkedIn, and it doesn't have to be businessy stuff. But I would say try to focus on one thing at first. Then if you have time, try to do other things, but just don't go into burnout, because like I said, you're just going to want to quit and not do any of it, which is not good either. But yeah, also just do what, like I said, do what you're best at. Like if you're good at, even if you're just good at a little bit of writing, go on Twitter then. Like I know Twitter sounds like it's dead, but it's still, there's still activity there. And I think that can still, if maybe, I don't know, maybe if people are like, oh, I wish you could elaborate more from your Twitter post, and you go like, hey, check me out on LinkedIn or something like that. So I would say, yeah, like I said, I would say just try to focus on one for now. And then we all have a lot more time than we think. Just drop something else. Like if you don't, I don't know, just do your laundry every 2 weeks instead of every week or something, and just spend more time creating content. I don't know. Like, just try to, like, I guess, audit your time, like, and just make best of it. Like, don't sit around watching TV if you don't have to. And but at the same time, like, that's kind of how I built my Seinfeld career. I mean, not career, but my account. It's just I watched a lot of Seinfeld, and it ended up not being a waste of time, because like now I pretty much became like a super freak and like understand, like, knowing all that content, and like I made content out of that content. So I'd say, yeah, like I said, long story short, just try to focus on one, audit your time, and just do the best you can. Don't overjudge yourself.
3 great tips, man. Appreciate that. I'm listening for myself as well as for the viewers. So that's I think that's definitely going to help. All in on TikTok, it is.
You really should. Like, it's just like I would be doing it myself, but I already do it for Gary, and I'm just kind of like tired at the end of the day. So it's like I don't really want to. And but yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Is that, do you find that just generally with, do you feel, because of the nature of your job, like when you're in your chill time, sometimes going on the platforms is too much, like, oh, work, or how
as a consumer, no. Like, I still like to go on TikTok. I still look at them. My only complaint would be is TikTok's algorithm is a little creepy, a little too smart, where it's on my personal account, it's feeding me things that I'm interested in, where I'm kind of there to understand what everyone's interested in. So it's like, it's a little bit tough, because like, it used to be different, where like everything on TikTok was kind of more like for everyone. Like, the For You page was for everyone, where like everyone understood trends. Everyone was maybe not necessarily seeing the exact same thing, but seeing little bits and pieces of it, where like now the algorithm like knows you. So like, if you are watching a lot of car videos on TikTok, it's sending you a lot of car things, but that doesn't help me make content for Gary per se, because like I'm kind of there to like also see like what are cool trends that the kids like to do, and maybe I could incorporate that with Gary's content. What are just other people that are similar to like Gary's world, maybe like if there's something going on in like the Jets sports like trends or something like that, I want to see that, because maybe I could use it for Gary. Like, that's kind of why I like to browse on TikTok, just because I'm trying to think of ideas. Like, I'm more of like Gary says, like, I'm more of like a DJ, where like I kind of see your content and then like kind of mix it up myself to make it my own content in a way. And but yeah, my For You page right now is very tailored to me, which is a little bit annoying, because it's not helping me create my own stuff for Gary, even for myself. Like, sometimes I'm like, I don't see things that I could even like make use out of, where like they're sending me a bunch of like Karen videos where like people are just freaking out at people. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of fun to watch, but it's like, I can't do anything with this, because I'm not gonna like I don't know, I can't do anything with it. So it's like, that's the only thing that's my only complaint about TikTok right now is just the algorithm's a little bit too smart.
So it's a bit like it's an echo chamber now, where you're not seeing everything else. Well, I mean, I guess if you're the person making content though, and you're putting it out there, I guess it gives you more chance of your things catching fire with the right people as well.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. But yeah, I also don't want to, like, I didn't want to say that sentence to like discourage anyone that isn't on TikTok from like going on TikTok. because everyone still thinks that TikTok's a little girls dancing platform, and it's not like that at all. Like, yeah, that stuff still exists, but it's like, it's so much more than that now. And I think if once the algorithm kind of learns your behavior, I think you'll enjoy it way more. Like, I just see a lot of cool things on there, creative things, even educational things. So
yeah, most definitely. To be fair, you said creepy algorithm. There was a time where a few weeks ago, I was my girlfriend had organized this bowling and drinks and dinner place in like West London for us to go to for a date one time. Like, she just mentioned it in passing, nothing too big, and literally a couple days later, go on TikTok and there's a TikTok about the exact place she's talked about. I haven't seen any pictures, and I was watching it like, this looks a lot like what my girlfriend described. So I sent it to her and she was like, no fucking way. No way. So yeah, it's a mad one.
Yeah. Even though TikTok says they're not actively listening to you, I think they really are. Like, it's just way too many coincidences. I'm like, yeah, they're definitely listening. Like, the fuck.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on to my next question, actually. So I actually, last year I made a freestyle about something that was quite personal to me, pretty vulnerable about my uncle with police brutality, and I put that on social media, and it was quite a weird experience, but I felt better for, putting it out into the world. Again, big thank you to you guys, because you guys at the team, because I think you, just in general, the content you make is really vulnerable, like in general, and that approach just allows people to really explore like facets of themselves and be able to put that out into the world. So I do appreciate that. And there was a moment on one of the episodes that you had on Tea with GaryVee where I think it was Gary was mentioning like messaging someone that you'd fallen out with or had like a sour last encounter with, and he asked you basically to resolve it live on the show. So I wanted to ask you, because that was live and there's thousands of people watching at the time. What did that feel like? And what happened? What was happening for you in that moment?
I remember the guy, his name was Gary was originally talking to, Alexis, and I just really felt very similar to how he felt. And that is one of the things that I always like burned a lot of bridges with my people that I knew. Not burn bridges, but just kind of like cut off ties with people a lot. Like, once I like don't want to talk to them anymore, I'm just like completely cut them off. But I didn't like that behavior because I just thought you shouldn't burn bridges, but I did. And I just hit up like two of my old friends that I don't talk to anymore, and just apologize. And they were very cool with it anyway. Like, they didn't even, it was weird. It was almost like I was kind of only one of them. One thought was like, oh, there wasn't even any problem. I was like, oh, well, still, anyway, sorry. And then the other one just really appreciated it. So I think it was very or for the context for anyone that's listening, basically Gary said anyone that you kind of cut off in your entire life, try to like hit them up and just say just try to like make amends with them. And it was hard at first. Like, I thought, like, I guess like any other human, you're just kind of afraid of being rejected, or like someone just being like, fuck you, dude, like, I don't give a shit or something. And it just went completely not like that. It was just a lot better than I thought it would be. So it felt good to like kind of resolve that part, because like it was just something on the back of my head that I was just always kind of subconsciously thinking about, or just afraid to like or come in contact with them, like if I ever go to like the same type of social gatherings.
Yeah.
And I just never liked that feeling of like being at like a social gathering and then I see someone that I don't talk to anymore, and then it's just like this such awkward, like not looking at each other, like not saying hi to each other type of thing. And I just never liked that feeling. So yeah, I just tried to resolve it. Just felt a lot, very relatable to like what Alexis went through. So yeah, Gary said I should, do it. So then I did, and it's cool. I mean, I'm still not like super talkative with those people, but I know that at least I can, like if I had to,
Yeah.
where it won't be like so awkward. So yeah, I mean, happy I did it. And half, I guess, felt like I kind of did it for Gary, but half did feel like it felt more than half felt like it was just like I was doing it for myself. Like I really needed to do it for myself. Just to
Yeah.
have like that closure, or not closure, but just more of that like relief of out of my brain.
Yeah, man. I remember that episode. It was really that was a proper heartfelt episode, because like you mentioned, when Gary, because Gary spent what, like half an hour maybe
Yeah,
with
it was a
Alexis,
long
wasn't
time
it?
with him. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously had the moment with you as well. I just remember like the end of it being like, whoa, that was just mad. Like it's the kind of content where I guess you're watching it and then suddenly you're just pulled in and you're just like locked in. And yeah, it was really emotionally impactful, which I guess for a lot of people, even me, like the presumptions that I would have had about GaryVee years ago, would never have thought that I could see that from him and his platform. But here I am watching it, and it's, yeah, like even for me, it made me want to reach out to people that I'd had fallings out with, and that kind of thing, and just find some common ground. And it actually, like, I reached out to, at the time I reached out to a couple of exes, and was just like, let's, sorry for these things, I didn't acknowledge them at the time. And they, like, good responses in terms of acknowledgement of just, okay, we did some bad things to each other, like hopefully we can live now, not being resentful and sour to one another because of it. So yeah, man,
That's awesome.
really
I'm glad to hear that you did the same thing. That's cool. Like that's always one thing that I always wanted to do also. Like I just completely cut off my exes. But I mean, yeah. But like, yeah, that's definitely I a lot of respect for you.
Thank you, man. I know it's always a sticky one, right? Because there's a lot more involved in those relationships. But I think, especially when a lot of time has passed, I think it can be quite good. Like I feel there was definitely like a physical, like, okay, don't need to hold that one anymore. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So no, that was sick.
That's awesome.
So we're coming towards the end of the podcast. I still got a few questions for you. So the first one is like, congrats on the VeeFriends project. I saw that, you guys are selling like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of NFTs now from that project. So yeah, like, congrats to you guys. I've only dabbled in NFTs basically through the content you guys have put out, and also from some reading that I've done here and there. So just a quick one, like if you could essentially summarize it, how do you think NFTs could help like the everyday creative who hasn't like built necessarily a large community right now, compared to somebody who is already a personal brand, or already like has an audience right now?
So, I mean, much like you, I'm not super like knowledgeable on NFTs. Like I dabbled too, just like looking at
Right.
some things. Obviously, like I am in Gary's world, so I do see a little bit more of it, but I'm definitely not um, the professional or the expert to be asking. But
Sure.
from what I've seen, like there are people that really were like essentially like nobodies. Like they just created art and now they're
Mm,
millionaires. And it's like it's there's a lot of potential. I would say just to try to learn more, like just watch some YouTube videos on like what NFTs are and
hmm
learning how to create it, or minting it, whatever the correct terminologies are. um, but yeah, it seems like there is a good shot for like any type of artists to like mm, sell stuff or like make money or whatever, or build a brand through it. Um,
Yeah.
but like I said, I'm not sure like the exact details on how that to do all that, execute on all that. I would say just
Mm,
get educated on like YouTube, join like Gary's Discord because there's a lot of people on there that seem to know what they're talking about.
mm,
Um, um, but it seems like the doors are opening like even bigger, like where it's not just art, where people are just really expanding into like music, photography. I haven't seen like video NFTs, but it's probably a thing also.
mm.
So yeah, I would say look into it at least. Like don't because it's not going to cost you anything to like just look into anything.
Yeah.
So definitely look into it, I would say, for anyone that's interested. I mean, I have like a lot of faith in Gary.
Yeah.
I don't think he's would be like promoting or like not promoting, but like um talking about NFTs this
Yeah.
much if he really didn't believe in it. And like he doesn't want to look like a jackass, like where that just like that's like
Yeah.
making up shit. So I like he really doesn't want that like to happen. So
hmm
I think he's being very, very genuine about it. It's just I think us as regular people just still haven't grasped the idea of it. Um,
Yeah.
and I totally understand that because even like some days I'm like, oh damn, this makes so much sense. And then the other days I'm just like, I don't fucking get it. So um I would say at least try to look into it if you're an artist, if you're a photographer, or yeah, I guess those are the two real main, or maybe even like a musician. I would look into it at least. Like it's just not, yeah, it's worth your time to look into,
mm.
because maybe it'll be the thing that just completely changes your life. So it's possible. But yeah, I'm not super educated on it myself. I just haven't had time to.
No, fair enough, man. I'll make a note to keep researching and finding out about it. But I think I agree with you in that. Um, like from at least from what I've seen from the content, like at this point, for a man to put his reputation on the line for a money grab,
Yeah,
yeah, that would be
yeah,
a madness. That would
yeah.
be mad.
Like a lot of people, yeah, a lot of people accuse him of that, and it's not that.
Yeah,
Gary really doesn't give a shit about money. Like obviously he wants to buy the jets, so he needs money to like buy the jets, but like other than that, he doesn't give a fuck. It's not a money grab type of thing. Like he
yeah,
really does believe it's going to be the next thing. Like just like how social media was like the next thing.
mm, yeah, man. Don't don't write off a man who has a track record. Give it some thinking. So yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that. Um, so you're also a BMXer. Is that the right terminology?
Mhm.
BMXer? Yeah, you're also a BMXer too. And your videos on social, bro, they're banging, fam. I can't even lie. They're banging. They're hard. Um, and as somebody who, so I have a pair of rollerblades, and I've dabbled in trying to learn, but basically there's a few reasons that I haven't taken it up too much, and it's because I'm pretty fearful of getting injured. And obviously for yourself, like, you're doing mad tricks. So how do you allow yourself to learn and learn with the fear of making a mistake, which could get you injured at the end of the day and affect things like the day job or just your general, like, day-to-day life? How do you navigate that when learning these tricks?
I mean, nowadays it's a little bit different because I am a little older. Like, I don't want to get hurt. I mean, obviously, but I kind of know my level of I don't know what the right term is, just where that line is, where like I shouldn't, like, it's something that I think I really could do, versus something that's like a little bit out of my reach, where like I'm gonna really get hurt if I try to do this. And then I just kind of outweigh the risk reward there. Like, there's certain handrails that I think that look awesome and I would love to do, but it's like, if I could get really like hurt on it, I'm like, not worth it. Sometimes I just say that, I'm like, nah, not worth it. Like, I think I've gotten to a certain level where I'm decent. Like, I'm not terrible, but I'm not like a professional either. So like, I kind of know what I'm capable of. So I don't like really venture past that.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of newer things that I learn, it's for the most part, it's safe. It's not like something where I'm like, I'm gonna die. But like, it is certain things where like I do risk possibly like hurting my knees, or hurting my ankle, or just cutting up my hands or something like that. But yeah, I guess just that for me, it's just like an exhilaration feeling of like learning or trying something new and actually being capable of like pulling it off. It's just a good feeling for me, especially if it's something new that I haven't tried before. But I'd say like I'm a pretty safe person as far as like, I'm not gonna try something that I'm really gonna like get hurt on.
Yeah.
Like, maybe, but that's my own definition of it. So I think I have like my own standards of like what I'm capable of, what is a little bit too risky, where like other people might think, oh my God, that's fucking crazy. Like, I'm not even gonna try that. Like, where to me, it's like super simple, where like I know I know I can do it pretty much. But so I think that's where you just kind of have to like understand yourself. And yeah, everything comes back to self-awareness, which is so weird.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking about it, because one of the things that I'm struggling with at the moment is like how to do controlled braking, like on rollerblades. Because for whatever reason, when I build up speed, I can't find an efficient way. And basically, I'm scared of going too fast and then trying to brake and really fucking it up and hurting myself. So like, I can only go at a certain pace at the moment, because I know if I go faster, I'm gonna need a lot of room. Otherwise, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For something like that, I would say, like, if anyone else is in that same position, like, I would say just try to work slowly, like build your way up to it. Like, don't go from zero to 100. Because I'm kind of like that too. Like, I mean, as far as like speed, like, I like to go fast, but sometimes I don't like to go that fast. And I've kind of like worked my way to like build that comfort level to like, okay, I'm a little bit more comfortable with this. Just like, I guess, how people ride like motorcycles, like they're most of them, I think, at least, that aren't stupid, aren't going to start going like 200 miles an hour right away. Like, they're going to work their way up to it, like kind of like start off a little bit and then just kind of work their way up to be a little bit more comfortable with something. I would say the same thing goes for you. Just like work your way up to it. Like, don't just go crazy, because I think that's how you're going to get hurt.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll take that on board. Like go slow, try and
Yeah.
stop, then a bit faster, try and stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, good to know. But if I get injured, I'll be sending over the medical bill to you, yeah. So last couple questions that I wanted to ask you before we round off, Dustin. First off is, who is the most famous person or biggest idol that you've met through your job? Because I'm sure you've probably come across you've met a lot of people of stature through your work. So yeah, who's the biggest or most important person you've met for yourself?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, I guess like technically the biggest right now would be like, I guess the D'Amelios. Like I met them when they were in the office twice.
Oh yeah.
But like I didn't like hang out with them or anything. So it's just like I just kind of met them. That's really it. I guess the next one would be like ASAP Ferg was really cool. He came into the office and he was doing like a small podcast with someone, and he was just talking about like BMX bikes, and I was like, oh yeah, I ride BMX. He's like, oh, that's cool. So that was just like a small little moment.
Yeah.
Who else? I mean, maybe not to, I mean, even though I'm not a huge sports person, but like I was there when Joe Namath was there for Ask Gary Vee. I mean, you might not know who he is just because it's more of an American sports type of thing, but I just remember seeing him when I was a little kid, like on TV, like doing like, I don't know, commercials for like sports drinks or something. I forget, but he's a big football player, like in the 60s or 70s. I forget. I'm not sure. But like I said, I wasn't even a football fan, but it was just cool to see him because I saw him when I was a little kid, and it was just like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It's really it. Like a lot of the people that I guess that like fuck with Gary, like so as far as like celebrities or artists or whatever, like I don't really know too much about them because
fair.
I'm just not that well rounded, I guess. Like I like a lot of the hip hop musicians that he had or talked to, I didn't know any of them until I like entered Gary's world, even though they're like huge. I just didn't know them.
Yeah. To be honest, like I've started to realize that approaching 30, there's artists that are just big, and I'm just like, rah, I have no idea who these people are, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel I would still say, oh yeah, I'm a young guy, like I'm in with what's going on, especially like London has its own like music culture, which is becoming a bit more global at the moment. So people like, I don't know if you heard Skepta, Stormzy, if you've heard those people.
Oh, I don't even know them.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. But like, there's people that the people that kids are talking about, and I'm just like, oh nah, like things just move on, and there's a whole other world that you just don't know about. So
yeah,
I hear you, man. I hear you. But no, it's cool to see somebody that you saw on TV a lot growing up, like in person. That must be quite a big moment. And then my final question for you, Dustin, what's been your favorite creation since you've been working under Gary Vee? Like whether it was a piece of content or a particular project or something, what's been the one you look back on and think, yeah, like I'm gassed that this is part of my legacy that I've made?
I mean, even though it's like one of the biggest ones, but also not one of the ones that I put like that much work into. But and not saying like oh, this was easy. This is more like I wasn't really like super thoughtful about it, but it was the "Why do you curse so much" video, like that when Gary's talking to that woman in the Chattanooga office. Like it's like when I first made that, it was because people are always commenting on his YouTube, like, why does this fucking guy curse so much or something like that. Like just everywhere on his Instagram, just people like, I wish you would stop cursing, or why do you curse so much, or I wish you would stop cursing and stuff. So I remember watching the footage and I was like, all right, I'm going to use this to kind of help answer all those people that keep asking that question. And it was just super simple as far as like the layout of it. Like it wasn't anything technical, but and it's weird because like Gary has made responses in the past to his cursing and they just didn't do that well. But I think this video in particular, for some reason, I guess just the way he explained it, people really liked how he explained it. I still haven't really figured out what aspect of it they like enjoy the most. But yeah, I guess that is one. That was like maybe that was in my first year, and it was maybe like around 5 months after I've been there. So it was just and it was like one of his highest viewed videos on Instagram ever. It still might be, I'm not sure.
Fucking hell.
So yeah, it was just like, whoa. I mean, and he almost didn't want to post it. Like we posted it on the Team GaryVee account first, and it performed really well. And I sent it to Gary, and then he's like, he didn't say anything. Then I was like, well, it did really well on the Team GaryVee account, and then he decided to post it, and it just went like crazy. So I guess that's kind of like my legacy, whatever you want to call it.
I love that video. I've seen it a few times popping up here and there. Like I think to answer maybe your question about what people like about it, for me, I think what I liked was, one, it's the fact that he's having a conversation with someone about it. So he's not just explaining
himself.
He's having a live interaction. But I think it was also the way he was saying, if I remember correctly, he was talking about like in his brain and in his heart.
That's what I thought it was too. Yeah, that's what I thought maybe it was.
I think that like really struck a chord with a lot of people, including me, where I was like, oh yeah, you know what? That makes a lot of sense, you know, like I feel that. I feel that. I feel that on a level. So yeah, do your thing, man. Yeah, that's how I felt when watching it. And just a quick one, because you mentioned it, how do you guys assess when something does well? Like what would you define as performs well, just while we're on?
It's weird because it's like, I guess it would be if something hits 1 million views, at least.
Right.
It's like, I know that's a kind of a weird number because it's like, what if you have like 20 million followers and 1 million views isn't necessarily good, because that's only like whatever, like 10% or something. But yeah, for at least Gary's account, like I guess it's just because we look at all his content and we kind of like build an average of like what his views should be. And if it's above that number, it's usually considered well performed or whatever.
Sure.
But I think it depends on like everything, because when Instagram Reels first came out, like everything was hitting 1 million. But even for me, at least, that's like, okay, that doesn't mean these are all good videos. That's kind of like more like the average now. So it's like something that's overperforming should probably be more like 2 million. And because of the way that algorithm was treating like that content, because they were trying to push for that people to like look at Reels more. So that's where like I think it's not necessarily a number that it's like, okay, this is the number. It's more like you got to kind of like look at everything and be like, okay, it seems to be around this number that is like the average, and we should, anything above that will be good, anything below is poor.
Yeah,
that's how we looked at it.
No, good to know. Good to know. I can apply that to my numbers of like 100, 200 and 300 in a similar fashion.
Yeah, right? Seriously. Yeah. Like that's how I look at it too. Even on like my own stuff. Like if I I don't know. I still have my YouTube channel. Like it doesn't do that great, but like if something hits like, I don't know, 200 views or something, okay, that's kind of like the norm here. And then if it's like 1,000, it's like, okay, that's a little bit of a normal. And then if it does better, whatever, you know, you know.
Yeah.
What I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think everyone has to scale their own way.
Yeah. I hear you, man. Dustin, thanks so much for jumping on the podcast. It's been really insightful just learning more about you and how you fit in with the operation, and getting some game from you as well, man. Like real talk, that stuff is I'm taking that and I'm gonna sleep on it and you know, try and burn that shit into my brain. So I appreciate it.
Awesome.
For the people that are listening and want to keep following your journey specifically, please let them know where they can find you, and if they want to network with you and hit you up, let them know, please.
It's Dustin, not Justin, pretty much everywhere, except on Twitter because someone already had it.
damn yeah. That Dustin.
I know. But on Twitter, it's Dusty, not Justy, because I just couldn't think of anything else. So, but everywhere else, it's Dustin, not Justin.
Sweet. Yeah. Listen, people, don't make that mistake and put the J at the beginning. I know autocorrect might do a madness, but make sure if you're DMing my guy over here, you get the D. Make sure it's the right letter, okay?
Yeah. And just to be fair, I don't get mad. It's just more like it's more of an inside joke how the name started off. Just because I used to go to like Starbucks and every time I'd say Dustin, like very specifically, they'd still write Justin. I'm like you bastards.
Flipping Starbucks, man. Always getting our names wrong. But yeah, Dustin, thanks a lot for being on. For everyone listening, thanks a lot for tuning in again. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will catch you in the next one very soon. Take care. Bye.